this for homework. I mean, we'll if you haven't done for homework, complete for homework, inshallah. We will mark this next week, inshallah, and that will actually mark the completion of our Mazid Fi journey. Alhamdulillah. For some of you who've been on the journey a few times, hopefully it's better the second and the third time around. But we will mark this next week, inshallah. So if you haven't finished it, finish it for homework, inshallah. Okay, so Bismillah, we can open up our Qasas. Which page are we on? It's 50 somewhere. Anybody know which page?
It's 53.
51. 53, Maulana.
53. What was the homework?
Page 53.
53.
I think until the end of chapter 20.
Okay, so 53 and the first half of 54. Okay, good. So where are we in the story? Or with the story, where basically they come with the caravan and then they place the cup or the goblet in the luggage of Binyamin, and then they find it. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A'udhu shaitan rajim. Qalu tallahi laqad alimtum ma ji'na linufsida fil ardi wa ma kunna sariqin. Qalu, once ago. Bismillah. Bismillah. Abdul Karim, Bismillah.
Qalu, they said, Tallahi, by Allah, laqad alimtum. Indeed, you know, ma ja'na, we did not come, linufsida fil ard, to cause corruption on the earth, or in the lands. وَمَا كُنَّا, and we are not sadiqeen, thieves.
Okay, mashallah, excellent. And also, hopefully, noticing also there that the nufsida is in the fourth bab, afsada, yufsidu, we go down as nufsidu, but because of the lam, we change the nufsidu to nufsida. So also, like when you're doing the text, inshallah, I mean, to all of you, just to keep in mind the mazid fi as well, inshallah. But Abdul Karim, you can carry on, inshallah. قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين.
Qalu, they said, فَمَا جَزَاؤُهُ, so what is the recompense for him? إِن كُنْتُمْ كَاذِبِينَ, if you are liars.
So the who here is going to go to Binyamin. So what is the recompense, like the reward, like the outcome of him, Binyamin, if you are lying about not being thieves? قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. Can I, inshallah?
قالوا جزاؤه, they said, his recompense, من وجد, who وجد, it is found, في رحله, in his baggage, فهو جزاؤه, he is the recompense. Zalika, like that, najzi, we recompense or reward al-zalimin, the wrongdoers.
Okay, good, mashallah. So qalu, they said, jaza'uhu, the recompense of him is that man wujida fi rahlihi, whoever wujida is found, like the stolen goods are found, fi rahlihi, in his luggage, the one that it is found in, fahuwa, then that person that the stolen goods are found in, huwa, he himself is jaza'uhu, he becomes the recompense for the one that he basically becomes the recompense of the stolen goods, basically. So in other words, whoever the thief is, the thief becomes the property of the one that they stole from. كذلك, like that, نجزي الظالمين, we recompense the zalimin, the wrongdoers. So also in this part of the story here, Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, he doesn't impose. Remember these his brothers are coming from a different place, and they're coming to Misr. So he doesn't impose Egyptian law on them, because you would presumably know the law of where they're coming from. And therefore he asked them actually what their law is, knowing that he will be able to keep Binyamin, hold him basically, because you would knew that he knew their law basically. So in a sense, he doesn't apply his own law in terms of Egyptian law. He applies the law of the land of the brothers. So which one is read inshallah? وَخَرَجَ الْإِنَاءُ. You can all read it on mute inshallah. وَخَرَجَ الْإِنَاءُ مِنْ مَتَاعِ بِنْيَامِينَ فَخَجِلَ الْإِخْوَةُ وَلَكِنْ قَالُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ خَجَلٍ إِنْ يَسْرِقْ. In others, Binyamin. فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخٌ لَهُ مِنْ يُوسُف مِنْ قَبْلُ. From before. Bismillah, wants to translate new person inshallah. Wa kharaja.
Give it a go.
Bismillah. Bismillah.
The cup emerged from the belongings of Binyamin, and his brothers became embarrassed. However, they said without embarrassment, if he steals, then a brother of his stole before.
Na'am. Excellent, mashallah. So وَخَرَجَ الْإِنَاءُ, and then the ina, there is the fa'il, the cup emerged, came out, min mata'i Binyamin, from the goods of Binyamin, like from the luggage and belongings of Binyamin. فَخَجِلَ الْإِخْوَةُ, and then the brothers became embarrassed. Why? Because they just said that they were not from the thieves, and now the cup comes from one of them. وَلَكِنْ قَالُوا, but they said مِنْ غَيْرِ خَجَلٍ, without any embarrassment, they said in yasriq Binyamin, in brackets, if Binyamin is the one who is the thief, فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخٌ لَهُ يُوسُفُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. فَقَدْ, then certainly, سَرَقَ has stolen أَخٌ لَهُ, a brother of his, min Yusuf, min qablu, from before. Now, so this obviously must have been like a very hurtful thing to hear after all of these years. Let's read together inshallah. وَسَمِعَ يُوسُفُ هَذَا الْبُهْتَانَ فَسَكَتَ وَلَمْ يَغْضَبْ وَكَانَ يُوسُفُ كَرِيمًا حَلِيمًا. Once ago, new student inshallah, bismillah.
I'll try now.
Bismillah.
Yusuf heard this buhtanan falsehood. Then he remained silent and did not get angry, and Yusuf was noble and gentle.
Good, mashallah. So وَسَمِعَ Yusuf, and Yusuf heard هذا البهتان. The هذا, remember, is going to be the مفعول به.
Yeah.
Yusuf, you heard this, and then the al-buhtan is going to be musharun ilay. In other words, it's going to be like a follower of the hada. So buhtan is basically slander. It's saying something false about someone else. It's like when you make up something about someone else. Whereas ghiba is when you say something true about someone else, but the person doesn't like it. So ghiba is saying something true about someone else that is true, but the person doesn't like it. And buhtan is saying something, a slander, a falsehood against someone else. وَسَمِعَ يُوسُف هَذَا الْبُهْتَانِ, and Yusuf heard this slander, this false slander. فَسَكَتَ, then he remained quiet. وَلَمْ يَغْضَبْ, and he did not become angry. وَكَانَ يُوسُفُ, and Yusuf was kareem, he was generous, he was noble. Halim, he was kind. It also means to be like forbearing, patient. قالوا, let's see together inshallah. قالوا يا أيها العزيز. Even if you don't read with me inshallah, it's important to have, like, you know, to pronounce the Arabic words and to get comfortable with the Arabic words all the time. قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إنا نراك من المحسنين. Once ago.
Bismillah.
Bismillah.
They said, "Oh, you, the minister, verily he has a very old father. Then take one of us in his place. Indeed, we see you as one of the good doers."
Excellent, mashallah. قالوا, they said, يا أيها العزيز, O noble one, O minister, إن له أبا شيخا. They can see the aban, there's ism inna, and the lahu is khabar inna. The khabar is brought before the ism inna, presumably there to almost like appeal to his emotion more, like for him, for this boy you've taken, or this young man you've taken. Inna indeed, lahu, for him, aban is a father, shaykhun, an old father, kabiran, a very old father. فخذ, so take أحدنا, one of us, makanahu, in his place. Inna, verily we, naraka, and again you can see as again inna ya, but here the khabar of inna is a sentence. The ism inna is the na. Verily we, what about we? Naraka, we see you, min al muhsinin. Again, you can see this is from the fourth bab. Ahsana, yuhsinu, ihsanan, muhsinun. Someone who does good, someone who does something, someone who does beauty, who makes beauty, creates beauty, who creates goodness. You are from those who do good. Let's read together, inshallah. قال معاذ الله أن تأخذ إلا من وجدنا متاعنا عنده إنا إذن لظالمون. Once ago. New person, Bismillah.
Can I try, please, Maulana?
Bismillah.
Alaikum. Allah
Assalamu
forbid we take anyone except the one we found the goods with, then we will be one of the wrongdoers.
Excellent, mashallah. Qala, he, Nabi Yusuf says, Ma'adha Allahi. Ma'adh from the like the word Ada Ya'udhu, A'udhu Billah Shaitan Rajim. Ma'adha Allahi, like refuge is sought in Allah. Qala Ma'adha Allah, like we can't do that. Refuge is sought in Allah. In an, that refuge is sought in Allah from na'khudha, from us taking, illa, anyone except man wajadana, except the one who, man wajadana, we found, mata'ana, our goods, indahu, with him. Inna, indeed we, idhan means like then, in that case. Then in that case, if we were to take anyone else besides the one we found our goods with, then we would have been definitely zalimun, we would have been wrongdoers, we would have been oppressors. Let's read together, inshallah. وَهَكَذَا بَقِيَ بِنْيَامِينُ عِنْدَ يُوسُفَ وَفَرِحَ الْأَخَوَانِ جَمِيعًا. Want to go?
Shall I go, Sheikh?
Bismillah.
وهكذا بقي بنيامين عند يوسف وفريق الإخوان جميعا. And like that, Benjamin remained with the governor, and the brothers were altogether quite happy about it.
No, I didn't check out this word. Is akhawan a plural? Did someone check it up? Did anyone check it up? I just
That's dual, Maulana.
Dual,
I think.
Maulana.
The two brothers were happy, not all of them.
No. I was wondering if akhawan is also plural as well. وهكذا, and like that. So Dr. Osman, just the word akh there from the word akhu. So akhu is going to be one brother, and akhawan is going to be two brothers. So just translate the last part. وَفَرِحَ الْأَخَوَانِ جَمِيعًا. Dr. Bray, Bismillah, inshallah. Just the last part. وَفَرِحَ الْأَخَوَانِ جَمِيعًا.
The two brothers together became happy.
No, excellent. وهكذا, and like that, بقي بنيامين, Binyamin, بقي means to remain, عند يوسف, with Yusuf. وفرح, and became happy, الأخوان, the two brothers became happy, جميعا, together. You see together, inshallah. إن يوسف كان وحيدا.
Sheikh, could I just ask?
Bismillah.
Akhwanul Muslimin, the Egyptian organization. Now, how does that translation work?
Okay, so that actually would be ikhwan with a kasra on the hamza. So ikhwan would be a plural of akh. So ikhwan will be different from akhawan. Are you with me, Doc?
Yes, thanks. Shukran.
Yes. So ikhwan would be and another plural of akh is ikhwan and ikhwa. Ikhwan and ikhwa are going to be the two plurals of akh. Akh means brother. So ikhwan or ikhwa are both plurals. But akhawan would be a dual. Bismillah. Inna Yusufa. Let's do together, inshallah. Inna Yusufa kana wahidan mundu zamanin tawilin. La yara ahadan min ahlihi. New student, inshallah, once ago. Bismillah.
Okay. And Yusuf certainly was alone for a long time, and he did not see anyone from his
inshallah. Bismillah,
family.
Saida.
Sorry.
Inna Yusuf.
And certainly Yusuf was alone for a long time, and he did not see anyone from his family.
Yeah, excellent. Inna Yusufa, verily Yusuf kana wahidan. Kana, he, so again, you say kana wahidan. When you ask where is the ism kana, where is it? Anybody can answer. Where is it?
Isn't in kana?
It's in kana, huwa in kana. Kana huwa wahidan. Inna Yusufa, verily Yusuf kana huwa wahidan. He was wahidan, he was alone. Mundu, since zamanin tawilin, zaman a time, tawilin a long time. La yara ahadan, he did not see anyone min ahlihi, from his family. Let's read together, inshallah. وَقَدْ سَاقَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ بِنْيَامِينَ أَفَلَا يَحْسِبُهُ عِنْدَهُ يَرَاهُ وَيُكَلِّمُهُ وَهَلْ مِنَ الظُّلْمِ أَنْ يُقِيمَ أَخٌ عِنْدَ أَخِيهِ أَبْدًا. So that tasneem, inshallah, bismillah.
Maulana, these were the two that I couldn't really
أَفَلَا يَحْبِسُهُ, sorry, I made a mistake there. Karen, bismillah.
I'm gonna try this. I think I missed this one up a bit, but so I've got, and certainly Allah brought Binyamin to him so that he could keep him with him, see him, and speak with him. And then I'm really not sure about the last sentence. Wow.
Let's go word by word, inshallah.
And what from the misdeeds?
Okay, so the hal you can translate it as is.
And so, or the misdeed, or is the misdeed, yukimu ahu, of the
so just on the word dhulm, the dhulm, you can more translate this like wrongdoing or oppression. So wahal min al-dhulmi, meaning what? And is it from oppression?
Okay. And is
like,
it
from like the category of wrongdoings?
Yeah. Okay. So is it from oppression that the brother, okay, that
you can just stays.
Stay.
Like to make stand, to stay. Find to stay, bismillah.
Okay, so that the brother stays with his brother, and then abadan, always, and then again always.
Yeah. So okay, so good. So let's go from again, inshallah. وَقَدْ سَاقَ اللَّهُ. So saqa means to drive something. Like saqa means like when you push something, drive something. Obviously in general we can say bring, but literally means to drive. وَقَدْ سَاقَ اللَّهُ, and Allah drove ilayhi, to him, Yusuf, Binyamina. Allah drove Binyamin to Yusuf alayhi salam. أفلا يحبسه عنده أفلا, so should not, يحبسه, should he not, because the is a question. Should he not keep him? Habasa means to like withhold, to keep. Should not keep him with him, should he not keep him, Binyamin, with him, Yusuf? Yarahu, seeing him, wa yukallimuhu, and speaking to him. In this last paragraph, the author is almost, in a sense, justifying the action of Yusuf alayhi salam. He said, Allah drove Binyamin to Yusuf. Should he not keep him with him and look at him and speak to him? وَهَلْ مِنَ الظُّلْمِ? That's the question now again. Is it from oppression? Is it from wrongdoing? أَنْ يُقِيمَ أَخٌ, that makes stand, literally, like should that a brother make stays in the akhihi, with his brother, like one brother makes the other brother stay with him. Abadan, abadan. Abadan, abadan, I don't know what dictionary said, but abadan has two meanings. It has the meaning of forever and ever, and also has the meaning of never, never. I don't know if you looked it up. Let me just see what they're saying there.
Yeah, I found never, Mulana.
No. It means both. It can mean forever and never. No. So in other words, abadan means like never, never. It is never a crime for a brother to stay with another brother and to hold him back and so on. So you can see here, yes, abad, abad here. You can see abadan means always, forever, and means never. So whether it means forever or never, it will depend on the context. So you with me? So you understand the last part. So about the, so in other words, the author is answering the question. He posed two questions. He says, Allah has driven Binyamin to Yusuf. Should he not keep him with him so he can look at him and speak to him? And is it from oppression that the one brother makes the other brother stay with him? And what is the answer? Abadan, abadan, like never, never. Like never, how can it be? Never, how can it be, basically?
Or never, never ever.
Or never ever. No. No.
Shucks, just the one word, mindu. I didn't get the meaning of that one. Mindu.
Mundo means since.
Okay, since. Okay.
Oh,
mundu.
okay.
Sorry, Mawla, can I just ask one question on the previous page
Bismillah.
again? I think we had that qalu jaza'u min wujida fi rahlihi fahuwa jaza'uhu. The last who, that domain, does that relate to the cups recompense, or is the who referring to Binyamin?
Where is this now?
I think I want to make sure I got the
No.
right.
So the question. So قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه.
That who.
The recompense. So my understanding would be that the last jaza'uhu is the owner.
Okay.
فهو, then he becomes jaza'uhu, he becomes the recompense of the sorry. So, قالوا جزاؤه, the recompense of the one who man wujida fi rahlihi, is found in it, in his goods. فهو جزاؤه then he.
I thought then he is its recompense, like referring to the cup that was
I think
stolen.
I have to check in tafsir to make sure, but I think
Okay.
it will go back to either the owner of it or the theft.
Oh, okay.
فهو جزاؤه, then he is the recompense of the theft.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure the domain. Okay. Correct.
No, I mean, it's a bit confusing there, but you have to check in tafsir exactly what the domain goes back to. But I would say it goes back to the فهو جزاؤه, then he becomes the recompense of it, of the theft.
Okay. Okay. Shukran.
No, afwan. Okay, so Bismillah. So for homework, inshallah. Any other questions on the text? Again, if you're going to keep doing this text, your Arabic will actually become strong very, very quickly, because you are basically applying yourself every week to new vocab and repeated vocab and sentence structures, and you're like also decoding all the time, because language is a process of encoding and decoding. I take thoughts, I encode into words, you receive language, and you decode into your mind. So you basically decoding this every week. It's much harder to encode into Arabic. It is much easier to understand a language that someone else is speaking than to produce a language. So that's why with kids as well, you find that kids, when they're young, like they're maybe like 1.5 years old, 2 years old, they understand much more than they're able to articulate. Like you can speak to a small child, you can explain something to them, and they will understand it. Like you tell a small child, go fetch your book. The child can't articulate go fetch your book, but they can understand go fetch your book at a certain age, because it's much easier to decode language. So like encoding is like a different process altogether. It's much harder for you to produce like from English to Arabic. But the main thing obviously is that the focus of the course is on decoding the book of Allah Ta'ala. So it's a decoding process. So you have to do this every week, so that your ability to decode, to unpack, to translate, excuse me, the text becomes much more efficient and much easier. And you can see the growth. I mean, I can see the growth in the students, mashallah, doing this. So keep doing it every week. It's quite important, and you'll find that the more you do it, it becomes easier and easier as you are going along. I'm not sure if is it becoming easier yet, or not really.
No, it certainly is, Malana. It's a lot more enjoyable to do simpler sentences. So it's fun.
Well, you can't always say man kasar al-asnam, so we have to move also.
Just the vocab is sometimes a bit hard.
Maulana, could I just make a comment?
Bismillah.
In the translation that you gave us, at the footnote, the grammatical analysis is also quite useful, and it is done in quite a bit of detail. Would all agree with that?
So, Doctor, are you asking, is the grammar useful, or you said?
No, I'm saying it is quite useful. I find it quite beneficial, really.
The grammar, yes. So I try to strike. There's two ways of doing this. Is that there's the immersive approach. So the immersive approach is like a child learns, which is basically exposure to sentences and words, and they intuitively learn word patterns and understanding. Meaning, what we won't like tell a child, fetch the book. Fetch is the amr for you, one male. The book is the maf'ulun bihi, and it's definite. You with me? You just tell a child fetch the book, and they will almost like intuitively learn that fetch is an amr, and the book is definite, meaning like a specific book. So they'll learn it intuitively. So that is going to be called like the immersive method. And then you get, I don't know what the other method is called, but it's like this technical grammatical method where every word is kind of unpacked. And I try to strike when it comes to the reader, I prefer more focusing on the immersive method, whereas the Quran more focusing on the technical method. Because sometimes that the immersive method, I mean the technical method of giving you every single the grammar label of each word, it can almost in a sense like become cumbersome and maybe hinder even. It almost feels like the language becomes like too technical in a sense. So I do kind of point out grammar structures here and there, just for you to get a taste of it and to see maybe things which are hidden, like, there's a ism hidden here or something. But I don't want to go to like every single word where I say like, every single word I can like, i'rab, inna is a harf, and Yusuf is a ism inna, and kana wahidan, the kana wahidan is a jumla in the place of the khabar inna, and the kana as a ism kana inside, and the wahidan is the khabar kana, and and so on. It just becomes like, can become cumbersome. However, when I learned Arabic, I had to do that. It was like every single word I had to like i'rab. It was quite difficult to do actually. So that's the kind of balance we're trying to strike. inshallah. Na'am.
Okay.
Mu'ta's approach, rahimahullah, Mu'ta's approach was that he prefers students to read actually, and then later on then nahu. Like for example, if you were at this madrasa, you would read this books like this for 6 months. You'd read and speak without knowing ism kana, khabar kana, mudaf nilay. You just read and translate, speak, read, translate, almost like the immersive method first. And then once you have a set of words and patterns in your mind, and then the nahu comes just to elucidate or to categorize, illuminate what you already have. It's almost like placing analysis on what you already have. I already have in my mind that when I say fi, I'm going to say fil baiti. But I'm not sure I'm going to say fil baiti because as I always say fil baiti, I never say fil baitu, fil baita. I always say fil baiti. And then I say it for months and months. And then after a few months, someone tells me the fi is a harful jar and the bait is a ismul majrur. The only difficulty with the immersion method, like on a part-time class, is that it takes long to immerse. It's different when you have like 5 hours a day, every day with a student. You can immerse much better. So we try to strike a balance between the two in the class. Inshallah. So that explains it. But if you do feel that there's a nahu thing that you want to know, like I was confused why that was jar or nasb or raf or something, you can ask me and then we can discuss it, inshallah. So if there's something particular that confuses you, anybody's welcome to ask. So does Neem say she finds the correct translation challenging? I think that the translation for me is the translation is indicative of meaning. So sometimes the words might be slightly off, but the question is, do you understand the sentence? Even if you find it difficult to express it into words, like sometimes it's like hard to express something into words, but do you understand what the author is saying? The goal of reading is to understand the intent of the author. Whether you are able to articulate that in your own language or another language or with the exact synonym or the more or less synonym, the objective of reading is to understand the intent of the author. So I'm not too concerned about sometimes like a slight technical differences in translation, but I do, you must understand the intent of the author. So that's what you're getting to. So for example, if I say, وَقَدْ سَاقَ, Allah brought, Allah drove, like those are like small differences because I'm going to use a different word in different contexts. But do I know what the author is saying? So that's going to be the objective, inshallah. But if you look back to your mankasara, this is like a much, you've come a bit of a way since mankasara. And I think if we keep the space, it will help, inshallah, just to really build your Arabic ability. Bismillah. And then also next year, I actually spoke to Zakaria and Mawli Yahya yesterday about next year, is that we're still going to plan next year in terms of the additional content subjects. But it's most likely that those content subjects, whether fiqh and aqidah, those content subjects will also have Arabic text. Like simple, what you call mutun, like base text, but they'll also be in Arabic. So you also get more Arabic practice in those subjects as well, inshallah. No. Any other questions or comments? I think you know your homework already. Your homework is 54, by chapter 21. 54 and 55 is your homework, inshallah. Okay.